When you're trying to say the sentence, when I was a kid or when I was a child, should you use 어릴 때 or 어렸을 때? Now, both of these are grammatically correct, but their meanings are slightly different. All right, to skip the clickbait, you can use either of them to say when I was a child or when I was a kid, but there are some important differences. But first of all, if you like this kind of video and you'd like to see more of these sorts of topics on my channel, please make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. So let's get started. First of all, I'm going to assume that you already know how to conjugate this 때 form. Now, literally, 때 means time. And let's talk about this verb here, 어리다. This means to be young, like a child. So this is not the word that you want to say if you're trying to compliment someone older and say, you look really young. This would sound like you're saying they look like a child. Instead, you'd want to use the verb 젊다. Actually, let me write that down here. If you want to say that someone just looks young, as in youthful, use the verb 젊다. Don't use 어리다. So anyway, literally what this means is the time when someone is young, like a child. So the time when someone is a child. And this one literally is in the past tense, so it means the time when someone was a child. So the time when someone is a child or the time when someone was a child. But then how can both of these be used to say when I was a kid or when I was a child? Well, if we look at this grammatically, 어릴 때 literally just means the time when someone is young like a child. And you can use this one just for speaking about anything in general about when you are that age, when you are childish, like a kid. So anything to do with the time when you are young. Let me give you an example sentence. For example, you can have this sentence, 어릴 때는, literally the time when you are young. So when you are young, 친구를 만들기가 쉬워요. So it is easy to make friends as for the time you are young. So when you're young, it's easy to make friends in that sort of sense. Literally just the time when you are young. So when someone is young. Or if we look at this form grammatically, 어렸을 때, we have the past tense conjugation of 어리다. So here it's literally the time when someone was young. So this has to be something talking about the past tense because literally it does mean the time when I was a kid. So let me give you an example sentence for that. So you could use this form to make a sentence like this. 제가 어렸을 때. So literally the time when I was young. 우리 가족이 가난했어요. My family was poor. So my family was poor at the time when I was young. So you can see here that 어렸을 때 literally means past tense, when I was young. So when I was young, my family was poor. So is that it then? Well, no, there's actually a little bit more to it. And the reason is, let me give you an example sentence for this. You can also have a sentence like this though. 저는 어릴 때. So as for me, when I am young or when am young, 키가 작았어요. My height, my stature was small, so I was short. But then what's wrong with this? I was short. When I am young, shouldn't we, or at least this is what some of you might be thinking, shouldn't we use 어렸을 때 because we're talking about the past tense? Actually, no. This sentence is perfectly fine, and this sort of speaking is very common in Korean. So then why is that acceptable? And the reason for this is because of this word 때, meaning time. So don't think about 어릴 때 as meaning when I am young, because it won't quite make sense. Instead, think about it as literally meaning just the time when young, or when young. In general, it doesn't have to mean right now. So you can use 때 when you're talking about things in the past tense or in the present tense. However, if you use 어렸을 때, it can only be talking about something in the past tense. So using this one is more limiting. Now, that's not to say you should avoid it. It's perfectly fine. But know that if you use it, then you can only be talking about something in the past tense. But it's not just this verb 어리다. In fact, it also applies to the other verb that we had just learned really quickly, 젊다, meaning to be young and youthful. You can also use this one as either 젊을 때 or 젊었을 때 in the past or present conjugation, and you can use them for those same sorts of situations as 어리다. And there's one more small thing that I want to talk about before we finish. There's one more word that you might come across, and that is 적. Now, 적 actually has a similar meaning as 때. It also means time. And you'll hear people use these words interchangeably with each other. So in addition to just 어릴 때 and 어렸을 때, you also might hear 어릴 적, 어렸을 적, and it has the same meaning. So just pay attention to hearing that word as well. It might come up in your conversations too. So, did you enjoy this video? Would you like to learn any other similar topics? Please let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching. Also make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you again next time. 그럼 다음에 또 봐.